Welcome to the handover video for the 2024 model Europa from WildAx. We'll start on the outside of the vehicle, work our way around, and when we come back to the habitation door, we'll step inside. So the first thing you come across is the fuel point. It's independent of the central locking system. You require the key from Fiat for popping the diesel lid. Ignition key in, turn, off she comes. There's a little hook to hang there as you put diesel into the vehicle. AdBlue goes below. There is no AdBlue gauge on this model. There is a warning light comes on with 1200 to 1500 miles left as a reserve in the AdBlue tank, and just the next time you are filling up the diesel after that, put some AdBlue in. If you fail to do that, it'll start to flash at you. It'll become quite annoying, and then it will change colour and come on constantly bright and red. If you continue to ignore it from that point, you'll go into limp mode, which is not a good thing. So when it first starts to flash, just fill up next time you're at a filling station. Underneath the passenger seat is where the toolbox is located. Contained within there is a scissor jack for jacking the vehicle up, as well as the towing hook for the front of the vehicle should you ever require pulling out from a somewhat boggy campsite. That is the first release for the bonnet there, and while we've got this door open, I'll show you how the blinds work in the window. Pinch together. Using both hands, you'll find there's a rod up here and there's a rod along here inside the frame, and the blind slides along those rods. There are magnets along the edge which engage and hold it in place. These are made out of reinforced paper. They are fairly robust, and as long as you look after them, they'll be fine. Good strong click when it's back in place, otherwise it can fly open when you go around corners. Similarly for the windscreen, there's just two little pinch points here. Bring it together and slide the blind out along the rods, top and bottom. A magnetic strip down here, the one comes out from the other side, they meet in the middle and join together. It's very important that those are clicked home when you're driving, because if you turn a corner, it can slide over in front of the driver and obscure his or her vision. Right, let's go under the bonnet now. In the centre of the bonnet, put your hand in and feel, you'll find the second catch, which is there. Bonnet stay goes in up here. So, from left to right under the bonnet, this is really the only one you'll need to go near on a new vehicle, and this is the windscreen washer fill. It's a little bit awkward to get to. Your best bet is to get a funnel with a flexible end on it, so you can get it in and top it up that way. Just saves you spilling the windscreen washer fluid all over your vehicle. Coolant and brake fluid. There is no reservoir for the power steering. It's electronic power steering on this model. There are three little catches up here which, if turned through 90 degrees, release this section of trim, allowing you to access the top of the coolant for topping it up. But as I say, on a brand new vehicle, you shouldn't have to go near that between service intervals. The dipstick for the oil is down here, and the oil filler point is there. There is an adapter that comes with the vehicle. Brings the oil filler up to about here, so again you won't spill oil on the vehicle when topping up. But once more, with a new vehicle, the oil shouldn't need to be replaced out with the servicing interval. This point here is the negative point if you have to jump start the vehicle. The positive terminal is hidden down here. You'll see that little plus here. That indicates where it is, and if you lift that flap under there, there is some bolts which you can attach your positive terminal to from your jump pack. And that is that as far as underneath the bonnet is concerned. So on the inside of the driver's door, we have controls for mirrors and electric windows and central locking. So the 0 indicates the off position. turn the dial to the first position, and then that is the large mirror on the driver's door, adjustable using the joystick. The next position down is the small mirror on the driver's side. This position here is for the small mirror on the passenger side, large mirror passenger side, and then back to off. This button here will electronically fold in the mirror or fold it back out. It doesn't happen automatically when you switch the ignition off. Obviously drivers and passengers electric window controls there, and a control button for closing the central locking. When you're inside the vehicle at night, don't use the remote on the key fob. That will set any alarm that you may have retrofitted. The vehicle doesn't come with an alarm as standard, but if you lock with that, that will not set the alarm off if you have a pet in the vehicle that's moving about, or if you're moving about yourself of an evening. So while we're on this side of the vehicle, this is the electric handbrake, putting it on by pushing it in and taking it off by pulling it away. It will only come off when the key's in the ignition. This will adjust your head beams up, your headlight beams up and down, and this switches on your rear and front fog lights. Anti-skid on and off, just leave that on all the time. So as we go along the exterior on the driver's side of the vehicle, we come to the cassette for the toilet. To remove the cassette, you lift up that catch there, and the cassette will just easily pull out. The cassette is on wheels with handle. Take it to the disposal point. When you're at the disposal point, unscrew the cap, which has a handy measuring section to it for loading up chemicals. This releases the air pressure, releases the airlock, I should say. That allows waste material to leave without you having to treat it like it was a ketchup bottle. Once you've emptied the contents, measure out your chemicals in there with about 1 litre of water to activate the chemicals. If you're using chemicals in the wee sachets, you can drop them down through the toilet bowl, but don't use liquid chemicals down your toilet bowl. They stain everything they touch, so you don't want that to discolour the white plastic of your toilet bowl. Most campsites now require you to use either the organic Elson type material or a green toilet chemical, not the blue of days gone by. The formaldehyde in the blue kills bacteria in septic tanks, and most campsites are on septic tanks. When you go to remove that, if you feel any resistance, stop, go inside and check the blade on the toilet has been fully closed. Otherwise, you will damage the system on the top of your toilet cassette, and they're not cheap to replace. Continuing along the exterior of the vehicle, we come to fill point. That is the key that you use to undo the water cap. Just a garden hose in there, fill it up with water. Now the water's probably as nice at your destination as it is at home. In some cases it might even be nicer. So don't travel with a full tank of water. Full tank of water is weight, weight is fuel, fuel is money. Unless you're going off grid, in which case you have to take enough water for your requirements. But normally about 20 litres is enough for flushing toilets and making tea or coffee en route. Down below you'll find drain taps for fresh water and for grey water, and we've got some fresh water in the vehicle, so to demonstrate, and that's that. There's nothing in the grey tank at the moment. All we've got in here is about 20% capacity for demonstration purposes. The flue from the boiler is here. It says hot on it, and it can get hot, so don't touch it. You could get a slight burn from it. You'll also see on cool days a little plume of steam coming from there. That's perfectly normal. Don't hang anything over there. It's not a good place to hang a child's cagoule or something to dry off, because if you block that in any way, the back pressure sensed by the boiler, it senses it as a fault and will switch itself off until that has been cleared. Finally, electric hookup point. Now, golden rule. Plug into the van first and then take the dead lead over to your power point. Don't plug into a power point and walk across wet grass on a campsite with a live lead in your hand. Chances are you might trip out the RCD switches if you do that. This vehicle comes with a spare wheel which is underslung at the back. To access that, there is a point just behind the rear wheel on the driver's side. There's an extension piece you get in the toolkit. It goes in there. You use your spanner on the end, lower the cage to access the spare wheel if you ever have to change the wheel. And that takes us round to the rear of the vehicle, where you can see the reversing sensors and the reversing camera. Just before we go inside, you'll notice there's an LPG sticker on the side of the van. Please don't take it off. It is there. It is there to advise emergency crews, if there's ever an accident, that this vehicle is carrying LPG gas. It's a requirement that emergency services are aware before they approach a vehicle that there is the possibility of gas and if there's a fire, gas explosion. So your gas locker is accessed with the habitation door open, and your vehicle is equipped with a drive safe regulator. There's a little button in the middle of the regulator. In the event of a collision or an impact, or even if you hit a pothole at speed, the vibration will cause that to pop out. It's a safety feature. To reset, you just press it back in with your finger and hold it in for about 3 seconds until it stays of its own accord. To open the gas, you turn the dial anti-clockwise as far as it would go, and when you reach the end, just come back with a little bit of a turn. This is a drive safe pigtail to accompany the drive safe regulator, double safety feature. Press and hold for 3 to 5 seconds. You will now have gas flowing into your vehicle. Once you have gas supply going to your cooker, a simple push and turn to max, fire up, hold it in for a few seconds. Once the thermocouple is heated up, you can release down to a peep, back up to max and off, and similarly with the other 2 rings, keeping them pressed in just for a couple of seconds to allow thermocouples to heat up, and then off. Oven and grill controlled from the one button, as it's a combined unit. So going anti-clockwise is the oven. Turn, ignite, hold it for a few seconds till the thermocouple warms up, and away you go, and then you can adjust the temperature to whatever the pizza instructions are. And then for the grill, press, having turned it the other way, continue to hold for a few seconds, and again, once the thermocouple has heated up, you can release, and now you can have your cheese on toast. On the left hand side above your head as you enter the vehicle, you'll find your 12-volt control panel. Let's switch it on. And now you're ready to go. You mustn't switch on the second control panel, which I'll show you in a moment, before this is up and running. The first thing the other panel does is it goes looking for a 12-volt supply, and if you haven't switched it on here, it won't find a 12-volt supply. So here is the 12-volt supply, the button that says 12 volts, and instantly you'll notice some of the lights came on. With 12-volt supply on, the light switches around the vehicle are now live, and you can switch on the reading lights. Your ambient lights come on, as you can see from up here. Next to that is the water pump supply. Get into the habit of using the water pump supply on demand. So if you're going to wash dishes, switch it on. If you're going to wash your hands in the washroom, switch it on. If you want to flush the toilet, switch it on. Then switch it off. The water pump, although it does make a sound, if you've got the radio on or if you're cooking and the kettle's whistling, you might not hear it. And if you're operating with no water in the vehicle, say in the middle of winter and you're just using bottled water, the pump could run empty, could run dry, and it might burn itself out. The remaining 2 buttons at the top of the screen One is the exterior awning light, and this one adjusts the brightness of your screen. Down on the bottom we have indicator to indicate the amount of fresh water in our tanks, and battery indication. Leisure battery, we're plugged into mains at the moment, so it's showing 13.4, and full vehicle battery 12.5. Anything between 12.5 and 13 is a very good and healthy level for your battery. Interior and exterior temperatures are shown there as well. So fresh tank must be empty when travelling. It's not strictly true. It's there as a sort of a warning to you. We spoke outside about travelling with extra weight. The freshwater tanks in the vehicle are not baffled like a fuel tank is. So in extreme driving conditions you could have water sloshing around in the tank, but it would need to be really extreme driving. It's exceptionally unlikely you would do anything like that. But that's just there as a little reminder. Program button, if you press and hold it, it comes into displays where you can change your clock setting. Now let's just enter display. You can, the brightness control from up there. You can change that there. The colour. What colour would you like it to be? It's purely a personal thing. You can go in and change that to whatever you wish. You'll notice that the water button and the battery button both have arrows on them as well, and they're used to navigate your way through the settings. And that, exit, program, save, yes, and now we have purple, and it will stay purple. Right, before we move to the second control panel, as we're at the front of the vehicle, I'll just quickly show you where they are. That is your router if you decide to put a SIM card into it and download the app. You can then control all the aspects of this and the other control panel from an app on your phone if you so wish. Just to the left hand side of the button you've got the courtesy light. It'll come on when you open the door of the vehicle, or it can stay on all the time, or you can have it off all the time, purely personal choice. Tank heaters, if you're using the vehicle in the winter, as long as there's fluid in the tanks, you can use the tank heaters. There's a tank blanket and insulation. The vehicle is fully winterized. And over here we have a battery monitor control panel. It's not a control panel, it's a display panel. It just shows you the condition of your battery. It's a 99 ampere battery, and at the moment it's working at 100% efficiency, and it just shows you it's at 13.2 volts, which is a really healthy voltage for the leisure battery to be at. Next to that is your carbon monoxide alarm, which is not a legal requirement, but we fit them to every single vehicle we sell. Right, let's have a look at that second control panel. Working on the assumption that we have 12 volt supply, we can switch on the second control panel, the one, the Truma control panel that controls your central heating and your hot water. You should get 6 buttons illuminating straight away, and let's start with room climate, which is the heating. So you press the button to enter, and you have a choice of heating or ventilation. If you haven't switched on the heating, you can use the heater fan as ventilation. It's not, I repeat, not air conditioning for the living area. And that's the off button there. It's purely a fan that will circulate air, which will help on a warm day, but it won't cool the van down. So let's heat it up this time. Heating. Select a temperature. Well, it's currently 36 degrees inside this van. It's a warm day, so the heating's not going to come on, I'm afraid. But we could set it up to come on at 28, or its maximum is 30. So let's say we've chosen 27. There's fast and there's comfort. Comfort, it will just gently come up to temperature and you won't use excess fuel. If you go to fast, it will use a combination of electricity and gas, and it will set the heating as a priority. So if you're heating hot water and you're heating the van, but you choose fast on this panel in this mode, the van will get heated up at the expense of the water. So your water won't start to get warm until the van has reached whatever temperature you've set for. So unless it's very, very cold and you're not bothered about having a shower, I would just use Comfort all the time. Choice of fuel, well, it's a dual fuel combi boiler, combination fuel. You've got diesel and you've got electricity. At the moment it's set for 900 watts electricity. Most campsites will cope perfectly well with drawing 1800 watts. Think of it as a 1 bar and a 2 bar electric fire from the point of view of heating the room up. It doesn't get any hotter, it just gets there quicker. And if you want to get there really quick, diesel and fuel. So you've got the burners going, burning diesel oil and heating up the air for blowing it around, and you've got an electric element that the hot air is being blown over, which is heating it up even more. Once more, doesn't get any hotter, it just gets there quicker. And if you take the backspace, and again the backspace, you'll see now that we have a wee green light above the room climate that tells us that the heating is on. Hot water, similarly, hot water is currently switched off. Let's switch it on. You have Comfort and you have Hot. Hot is for showers, Comfort will do your dishes. Boost is the same as with the heating. It will prioritise, so it's boosting for 40 minutes and all the energy will go towards heating the hot water at the expense of heating the room up. So again, only use that if you're really, really wet and dirty and you want to shower very, very quick at the expense of the temperature inside the van. Electricity, again, you can have diesel, 900 watts or 1800 watts, or both. Choice is yours. If we go back to the main screen, you'll now see that hot water is lit up and room climate is lit up as well. To switch them off individually, you just select room climate and press the off button. Select hot water and press the off button. I showed you earlier on where the router was for the Wi-Fi. If you put a SIM card in there and activate it, you can then go in there. If you're using a smartphone or a tablet, you can manage everything from the app on your tablet. Now, inside the vehicle, it'll do it by Bluetooth, but externally, you'd need to have a SIM card in your Wi-Fi router, and it would work that way. This is the timers that we spoke about when we were looking at the other vehicle. You can configure the timers in the app. So much easier than trying to do it on the other panel. Notifications, if anything is wrong. In days gone by, you used to just get an error code. Now you will get a description. We haven't got anything going wrong at the moment, so great, your system is working perfectly. But you actually get in English an explanation of what's wrong. There's no 12-volt supply, or you're trying to run something on electricity when you're not plugged into mains, it will tell you there in plain English, which is excellent. And then you can turn off the whole system. Press and hold, and then turn off. To switch back on, press the home button. Now, when you're switching everything off, you have to switch it off in reverse order. So this panel goes off first, and wait till that panel has a completely black screen before you switch off the 12-volt supply panel at the front of the van. Finally, before I switch this off, swiping to the side, there is another button. There's actually 7 buttons, and in the settings you can then change your date, time, etc. Pretty straightforward, pretty self-explanatory. Let's turn off. It's very important before you switch on your hot water that you have primed the system. In other words, there is water in the boiler. If you fill the tank to 100% and then switch on the water pump to fill the boiler, you'll probably find your water level will drop to about 75–80%. The boiler does hold quite a bit in its reservoir. So if you're wanting a full boiler and a full tank when you arrive at your destination, fill your hot water tank, switch the tap power on, the water pump power, and then come through to the bathroom and to the kitchen as well. Do it on both. Turn the tap to the hot water position and run it until you get continuity of flow. Now, when you're and you can hear the pump running on there, replacing the water that we've just drawn from the boiler. Now, to begin with, you'll find a lot of air in the system when you first fill up after a winter drain down, and the best bet is to just leave it until you get that steady stream as we have there, in both hot and cold, on both this tap and the one in the kitchen sink as well. While I'm here, I'll also demonstrate. That is your shower. It pulls out from the sink tap and it fits into the shower fitting up there when you're having a shower, and goes back in there to become your tap when you're just washing your hands or washing your face in the morning or having a shave or whatever. There is no cistern in the toilet in your new WildAx. What there is the pump drawing water from your freshwater tank for the flush. To operate, of course, you have to open the valve on the toilet cassette first, and it's done here. So, flush to rinse the bowl, and then close the flap and close the lid. Obviously, full tank, time to empty, and it's building up to it, and that's what those warning lights there indicate. In the rear lounge section, there are storage compartments underneath the bed or the bench seats. On the driver's side of the vehicle, under one, you'll find the boiler, and it's difficult to see, but down here behind the boiler there's a little yellow valve, and that is your winter drain valve. When you're draining the boiler for winter, you have to open that valve, and you can hear it running, and that is the water in the boiler draining away. You obviously would switch off the water pump, drain the boiler, open the two taps on the outside of the vehicle to drain the two tanks, then finally switch on the water pump and open the taps just to get rid of any water that's still in the pipes. Then you switch off the water pump, and that's the position you leave it in over winter. Leave the taps in the open position. You'll never get rid of every bit of water, and what little water does remain will freeze out along the length of the pipe rather than going sideways when it meets the air pressure and bursting a pipe. Next to the boiler, you'll find the electrics on the driver's side. So here we have the battery charging unit, the control panel for your solar panel, and as long as that's got a light on, you know everything's working fine. You don't have any controls for the solar panel at all. Down here we have the RCD switches. The cover can come off, and you can do a test by popping the button when you're plugged into mains, and the RCD trips down if everything's working as it should, and it did just there. There are two RCD switches for the two main 230 ring systems. 12 volt fuses. So every 12 volt electrical item in the vehicle has a separate fuse. This is on the leisure side of things. This is not vehicle fuses. These are leisure fuses. So it's the igniter for your cooker, for the oven, the 12 volt lighting systems, the blower for the hot air, the pump for the water. All of those are controlled by individual fuses. And there are large fuses here for the vehicle and the leisure battery, and that is from the smart charger to isolate should there be any issues with those units. On the passenger side, you have two similar sections, but on this side they're purely for storage. Your vehicle is equipped with a new 12 volt compressor fridge from Thetford. To switch it on, press the on off button and hold until it starts to flash and lights up. It goes to sleep very quickly. You just have to press anywhere to wake it back up again. You'll notice that it's now set at the minimum temperature, but by pressing each of the individual little bars, you can make the fridge colder. The more bars that are illuminated, the colder the fridge will be. For the first time, we have a temperature control for the freezer compartment. So let's just wake everything up again, and you'll see that it's set to 3 stars at the moment. That's the coldest setting. 1 star is minus 6 degrees Celsius, 2 stars is minus 12, 3 stars is minus 18. Press and hold here till it flashes. And let go too soon, there we go. That's the freezer off. So if you're not carrying anything frozen, that's the setting we would recommend you use less energy. If you have anything in the freezer, then you can switch on 1, 2 or 3. 1, 2 or 3. 3 is what's recommended by the manufacturer if you're going to have things in your freezer. There's a night function as well. Again, if you press and hold, a little moon will come on and it will automatically take it. If you have everything set at maximum, it will take the temperature setting of the fridge down to about 2/3. It just stops the compressor kicking in on a regular basis while you're trying to sleep at night. And then to go back to normal, you just press and hold till it starts to flash again and then switch it off. And finally, we find ourselves in the cab. Straightforward Fiat Ducato controls. To change gear with the automatic, you always have your foot on the brake and release the button at the top and move it down from reverse to neutral to drive. If you so wish, you can push over to the left hand side and then using the plus and the minus you can select gears 1, 2 and 3. Really, it would be useful if you were on a campsite and the conditions were somewhat muddy and you were looking for low revs, high torque to get out of a muddy situation. You slip it over to that, but in the main just keep it in drive. Phone and station controls for your radio are on the left hand side of the steering wheel. The cruise control and speed limiter instructions on the right hand side. Lights and indicator stock on the left, windscreen wipers on the right. Climate control is all controlled in the centre of the vehicle here. Volume control for the radio, and you have got 12 volt DC and USB connectors and USB-C connectors. These are powered from the vehicle battery and will only work when the ignition is on. The 12 volt power points in the habitation area are controlled off the leisure battery. To connect either an iPod, an MP3 player, or to use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you can connect your phone through this USB connection here and rest the phone in there, and it will charge while you're using Google Maps up on the screen. And that concludes the handover video for your new WildAx camper van. May I, on behalf of everyone at Highland Campervans, wish you lots of miles and lots of smiles, making fantastic memories in your new purchase. Thank you once again for choosing WildAx and Highland Campervans.